Ave Regina, Mater misericordiae, vita dulcedo, estes nostra salve.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. The disciples of John and the Pharisees were accustomed to fast. People came to Jesus and objected, "Why do the disciples of John and the disciples of the Pharisees fast, but your disciples do not fast?" Jesus answered them, "Can the wedding guests fast while the bridegroom is with them? As long as they have the bridegroom with them, they cannot fast. But the days will come when the bridegroom is taken away from them, and then they will fast on that day. No one sews a piece of unshrunken cloth on an old cloak. If he does, fullness pulls away the new from the old, and the tear gets worse. Likewise, no one pours new wine in old wineskins. Otherwise, the wine will burst the skin, and both the wine and the skin are ruined. Rather, new wine is poured into fresh wineskins." The Gospel of the Lord.
After reading the letter to the Hebrews this morning, I started to think about some children I saw once playing a board game, and they asked me to join in with them. This was at a family gathering. And all of a sudden I realized that they weren't playing the same game I was playing. They made up their own rules. And I was losing horribly, and I shouldn't have been. And it wasn't my agenda to win the game, but I just was totally confused about how the game worked now because they had changed all the rules. And I said, that's not how the rules are in the game. We made up our own rules because it's in our house. Oh, all right. Well, he was perfected in obedience because of what he suffered. It's so tempting when the demands of obedience become inconvenient. It's so tempting to change the rules. Our founding fathers, in the Declaration of Independence, stated something that is a beautiful expression of what we call natural law. We have inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's something that comes natural to us as human beings. It feels just so right. And so there must be a governance, they decided, so that that right can be protected, whether it's convenient or inconvenient, to quote St. Paul. And somewhere along the line, our founding fathers forgot that when they began to make allowances to change and alter that rule for the sake of slavery, which is what empowered Martin Luther King, whom is honored today. And yet, at the same time, if we're going to follow the rules, and if we're really going to look at that, I wonder how Martin Luther King would feel today about his black brothers and sisters who are dying in the womb and depriving his race of the gifts of some brilliant people who have been attempted to bring to birth by loving parents, maybe, but an industry that promotes the slaughter and a type of even genocide. And given the amount of abortions that take place among minorities, it almost seems like there might be an effort of genocide. I don't know. I wouldn't want to make that assumption so quickly, but it seems that way. I wonder how Martin Luther would feel about that. I wonder if he would have been a participant in the March for Life. I don't know. He's not around to ask that question. And yet, it seems to be a common thread in what he was promoting. At least if we're not going to be hypocrites. And so, you see St. Agnes this morning, who we celebrate. She didn't adjust the rules about forgiveness and mercy against her perpetrators. She forgave. She forgave the one who killed her. Because that's what is done. It seems like somehow along the way, we forgot. Christian people who founded this country forgot that our Christianity has roots in the emancipation of a whole race, an emancipation into freedom and liberty by the hand of God Himself. And somehow our nation has gone astray to a point where we have actually become artisans of a type of genocide that is totally against what we are founded on. I just can't help but wonder if Martin Luther King would be ashamed of us right now. And in order to make ourselves feel better, even though we're a country founded on Christian principles, so we say, we have become less and less Christian as a country. We've become defoliated of the beauty of our Christian foliage because we're in the process of changing the rules so that we can exercise freedom the way we think we should, instead of reflecting the core belief that we have an inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Thank God we have a loving Savior who has not changed the rules Himself, who could have. But instead, the letter to the Hebrews reminds us that He bore our suffering for the sake of mercy. He offered a sacrifice to undo our depravity and sinfulness. He did this. Perhaps this day should be a day to focus on returning to an obedience of what is beautiful, what is Christian, what is godly, what is life-giving, bringing liberty and the pursuit of happiness. This is what we should be looking at today. And looking at today the fact that we were intended to be one nation under God, with liberty and justice for all.
Regina Celi, letare